All right, what we're working on today is section 1.5. We're actually moving away from segments for a little bit, and we're going to now focus on another basic part of geometry, which is angles. And so first we need to know the definition of an angle. And an angle is when you have two opposite rays that share a common endpoint. So I have two rays that share a common endpoint. And so they both start at B. And so if you notice, there's all these different ways to name it. So it could be angle ABC, and that's my angle sign I throw in front of it. It could be angle CBA, but if you notice both of those, B has to be in the center. You could also just name it angle B, and you can also name it angle 1 because 1's inside of it. So if you use 3 letters, you have to make sure that this point down here is in the center. When you talk about an angle, the most important part is probably the vertex. The vertex of the angle is down here. So this is the angle B. So the vertex of angle B is B, point B. Now, when you talk about an angle, you have to know when the interior and exterior. And interior is on the inside, and so it's inside. So it's this whole shaded yellow region of that angle. If you have the interior, you also have the exterior. So the exterior of the angle is on the outside, and so it's everything outside of the angle. And then an acute angle, now we're going to start talking about the 3 different types of angles, and most of you should be familiar with this, but an acute angle is a cute little angle. So it's a little angle that's less than 90 degrees. So acute is less than 90. The next angle is a right angle, and a right angle is an angle that is 90 degrees, so it measures exactly 90. When you put a box there, it tells you that it's a right angle. Then you have an obtuse angle. It's a big angle, and so an obtuse angle is greater than 90 but less than 180, so it's in between 90 and 180. And then the last angle we have is a straight angle. And a straight angle is when you have a measure of 180 degrees. And that just makes a straight line. Now, last lesson we learned about the segment addition postulate, where 2 small pieces add up to the whole thing. Well, you have the same thing, but this time with angles. So one small angle plus the other small angle equals the whole big angle. So angle addition postulate. And so this is how you would write it. The measure of ABD plus the measure of angle DBC equals the measure of angle ABC. We haven't seen a card yet, but when I talk about measures, that's what that little M is in front. It's not M angle, it's the measure of the angle. Angle bisector, well, that's kind of what it sounds like. Remember, bisect is to cut something in half. So an angle bisector is a ray that cuts an angle in half. So this cut it in half. And then the last thing, congruent angles. When you bisect angles, you have congruent angles, and so you put marks on the pictures. So that the angle ABC is congruent to angle DEF. Arcs showed that angles are congruent. So just like when we had ticks showed that segments are congruent, arcs show that angles are congruent.